If you've ever been asked, where do recruiters come from? I think it's a great question. And one of my favorite parts of the profession, nobody ever grew up and said, Mom, I want to be a recruiter when I grow up. And if they did, they were a really weird kid. But that said, about 50% of our profession, and this is a giant study that was recently done, accidentally wandered in. I'm sure that's a story that probably resonates a lot with you. It's a place where liberal arts majors go to die. After that, it came referral. I knew a friend who was doing it and it seemed pretty easy to sell jobs, or somebody pulled me out of a current gig and recruited me into recruiting. So what you're seeing essentially is that this is the existential path of people who don't really know what else they're going to do with their career, which is how I got in this too. I did a quick search for ads on how to become a recruiter. Let's say I want training that's not social talent. This is exactly what I'm confronted with. So again, the barriers for entry aren't only low, but this is the sort of advertisements that are actually bringing in the people who are giving your professional reputation the cachet that it has, which is to say a lot of overpromising, under-delivering, and sleazy salesman stock photos. So when you look at backgrounds again, if you work with a recruiter, there's really a disparity in education. Psychology and marketing are actually the top two disciplines by which people get degrees, which is interesting because we can say recruiters are marketers. At the end of the day, we have to deal with a lot of head cases, so probably an appropriate background. And then there's an interesting career trajectory. As you can see, this is broken out by percentages, but no other job after recruiting registers above 2%. So where you come from, where you go, not a huge amount of continuity, which brings the question, is this a job or a career? A lot of people could argue it's a job. Recruiters normally stay in that position for around 2 years. That tenure certainly seems to change by industry. And statistically, if you've been doing this for more than 5 years, you've already had a longer job tenure than the average recruiter across the board. But as you can see, the most common career transition is actually to become an HR specialist or a salesperson. And if you're in TA, I don't think you want either of those things. So it's very, very important to try to build up your own profile as a recruiter and your own brand to counteract some of these things. That said, about 60% of us do want to stay in this profession, and only about 10% of us want to leave. So how do you get to be one of those people whose tenure is a little bit longer than average? How do you create stickiness, and how do you turn this job into a full career? It's a question that doesn't necessarily have an answer, but there are some things that you can do to make your career both recession-proof and also to build a brand in which you're a valued, trusted advisor and resource to your company. Simply put, you have to answer this question as a recruiter, and it's the hardest one in the world. It's called the Bukowski test. This is what recruiting comes down to. How in the hell could a man enjoy being awakened at 6:30 a.m. by an alarm clock, leap out of bed, dress, force feed, brush teeth and hair, and fight traffic to get to a place where essentially you made lots of money for somebody else and were asked to be grateful for the opportunity to do so? It's a very hard question to answer. And guess what? Every single search that you do, you have to answer this question. Once you strip away the employer branding and the EVP, it's kind of hard to sell.